You're ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay. So today we are talking about something that just happened in our lives. Actually, I was sitting on the couch and Madison was like, we are talking about like whether, living in your past, present, and future. And she came up with a quote. And I thought, we should talk about this because I think it's a pretty big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, so basically, it's the concept of people who live in the past live in depression, people who live in the future live in anxiety, and people who live in the present live in actual happiness.
That's cool. So cool. And it has so much bearing for trans people and queer folks and actually everyone else as well.
Yeah.
The past is so part of us, right? It becomes who we are. It actually shaped who we are. Every single, how much of me is innate and how much of me is based upon the things that have happened to me in my life and the opportunities I've had, and et cetera, and how I dealt with them, etc. But all of those things shape us, but they aren't us, if that also makes sense. Um, if you've had a very traumatic childhood, or you had narcissistic parents, or you've had some issues like being queer or trans or something like that. And so those things are part of our identities. And so they're things that have happened to us. And sometimes the past can impact the present, and sometimes the past can impact the future. And so I think so much of dealing with traumas is coming to grips with them and doing the work, having therapy about those things, or doing really good introspection or whatnot. But if we spend too much time back there, if we spend too much of our energy in that back spot, then where we're not is in the present, and where we're not is in the future.
You want to go deep with this for a second?
Yeah.
So, where do you live most?
I live in the future.
So, constant anxiety, right?
I'm an anxiety person. So I'm constantly worst case scenario Victoria. Anything that I think of, immediately my brain goes to the worst possible case. It doesn't even have to be realistic. It doesn't have to be remotely realistic for it to be true. It can even be like fantasy, like something terrible. So
I'm the devil.
She's the devil, and she's been here to trick me, and I'm like, like it's okay, like chill out, Victoria. So, anyways, yeah. So I live a lot in the future, and so many people live in the past, and so many times when you live in the past, it impacts what you actually want in life.
It impacts your day to day and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're stuck in, we've all had traumas. Like there's not a single person out there who hasn't had something that has, changed their behavior because of a strong negative experience that changed who you were as a person, right? It can be something like bullying, or being the bully. It can be all of these things, why people are bullies and all that other stuff. But coming back to this idea of like, we're shaped by our good experiences and we're shaped by our bad experiences, and they become part of the fabric of who we are. But it's so dangerous to constantly stay in that spot. Just think of it as your life. I mean, I think to myself, like, I had a pretty good life pre-transition. It looked pretty good, at least, from the outside. And sometimes we're driving like through the school, university in our area, and I get a little bit sad because I didn't have that experience of being a college girl, and I didn't get that experience. So I sometimes feel bad for myself. I'm like, oh, that's so shit. And I'm like, but I had a different experience, and that experience shaped me to be the person I am right now. So it's really dangerous to think in these ways because they breed all of these negative emotions. But more than just breeding negative emotions in the present, it forces us to live in the past, a past opportunity, a missed opportunity, a traumatic experience that we feel like we could have undone, or I wish we never had, or whatever, whatever. But if you stay there all the time,
It'll debilitate you.
it'll debilitate you where? In the present.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that I've been really working on myself in my journey, because of what she mentioned just 2 minutes ago, is that I am a very anxious person. I have a lot of anxiety. I'm unmedicated ADHD, if it wasn't obvious. And
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, so I have a lot of anxiety, and one of the things that I've worked on really, really, really is being present, being present in the moment, and actually like even like stop to like look around, stop to realize where you are, like almost like actionable steps to be present. What am I feeling right now? You know, what am I doing right now? Because we're so much of us, we live on autopilot. We're like literally just going by tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Going downstairs, make sandwich. Going downstairs, clean up dish. It's like almost like robotic, and we get into this pattern of behavior where we're on autopilot because we're not actually present. If we're on autopilot, we are not present. We're definitely not present if you're on autopilot. Why? Because you are now giving yourself the ability to be somewhere else. Because if you weren't on autopilot, you would be there. Mm-hmm. Right? So you put yourself on autopilot, immediately telling me that you are somewhere else, right? Because you're not present, you're on autopilot. So how many people live in that way? And so actually stopping and being present is such an experience for me as I've continued to work on this. And now that I've been doing it for a little while, I do much less of the auto checking, mm-hmm. where I'm like, how am I feeling? I don't do that anymore. Now I know how I'm feeling because I'm here. Mm-hmm. I'm not on autopilot. I don't have to come back in and check whether I'm okay. I'm actually present. So when I have the feeling, I have the feeling. So it's been really cool to be in a place where I am no longer as anxious as I once was before. I have worked on it and I've made strides. I'm not perfect though. I still have anxiety. I still worry. I still have all of these fears about my life. But at least now I can honestly say that I am present most of the time.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to be? You want to be here, or do you want to be somewhere else? If you want to be somewhere else, that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Life isn't like about the destination. If you spend your whole life waiting for that next thing, waiting for the destination, you're going to miss all of the good in it. There's this movie that I talk about relatively often with Adam Sandler called Click. It's such a good movie, and it's about the concept of he gets this remote control where he can fast forward his life, like the boring parts, right? And then the remote control starts to like learn, and then it's fast forwarding when he doesn't want it to. And it's the concept of if you continue to, go on autopilot in these mundane moments, you're going to miss out on your life. You're going to get to the end and be like, well, where the hell did all that time go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Just as a check for yourself, do this for yourself. Honestly, spend a second and being like, am I right here? Am I feeling this feeling right now? Am I feeling the floor that I'm standing on? Am I feeling my breath? Am I feeling what I'm actually thinking about? If you find that you're on autopilot more often than not, or if you find yourself thinking about the past the bad things that could have happened or the bad things that did happen, or
using it as an excuse,
or if you're a person who lives in anxiety like I do, it's really a wonderful exercise to pause. And I don't even think necessarily meditate, but I've never done it myself. But just be present in the very moment that you're in. And if you do that on a more consistent basis, it actually becomes something that I can do. I can do it without actually thinking about it. It has got left my conscious thought and it's entered my subconscious, where I can just be present.
Yeah.
And I don't have to exist in a different time zone.
Yeah.
So anyways, that being said, we love you. Hope you learned something. We're always on our own journey of learning, and I think that's what makes it work for both of us.
And we want to share it with you. Bye.
Yep. Bye.